The latest HBO series is very similar to the game it's based on, and one way the producers of The Last of Us have ensured this is through limitless Easter eggs. As for the changes, it looks like they made the right ones, which is why it's so successful. Let's talk about the Easter eggs in this series' opening scene.
Everybody I have cared for has either died or left me.
This sequence is regarded as one of the most extraordinary openings in the history of video games. You played from the point of view of Sarah and had to navigate her house, having no clue what you have to do on Earth. All you knew was that things were about to go downhill. The adaptation can't engage you in a way the game can, but with the help of Easter eggs, we can get pretty close. Because it's basically merging the world of the video game with the series, one example is the car scene. I wouldn't call it an Easter egg per se, but it certainly is a nod to the game. It has the same angle and tracking of the car as it was in the game. It makes it look like you're playing on the highest graphical settings known to man. Though the first actual Easter egg is Sarah's Halcyon Drops t-shirt, Halcyon Drops was this fictional band in the game, and it looks like it's also in the world of the series. Oh, and another cool touch is that the TV show, the back of the shirt supposedly shows all the band's tour destinations. But these destinations actually foreshadow all the places in Joel and Ellie's journey. Now that's what I call attention to detail. Oh, and remember that birthday card in Joel's house? Well, it made its way into the show and can be seen on Sarah's desk. Don't worry, the Easter eggs don't end here, and hopefully won't till the end of the season. So what else is there? Well, there are parallels between Ellie and Joel from the game. The two had some of the most iconic dialogue between them, and thank God HBO stuck with the source material and didn't go experimenting. Anyway, the pair of Joel and Ellie have this fantastic chemistry between them, and that made them fan favorites. Just like I said before, HBO made the right move, didn't interfere, and just plucked dialogue from the game and passed it into the show exactly as it was. The most notable one is when Joel asks Ellie if she's a bigwig's daughter. This was obviously before Joel knew why they were transporting her here. Oh, and the Easter eggs aren't just limited to the first game.
I'm gonna find, and I'm gonna kill every last one of them.
In The Last of Us Part 2, there's an old movie called Curtis and Viper, which was pretty important to Joel and Ellie. Well, Sarah picked up a copy of it at her neighbor's house, and it was the same cover and design. You can never be too accurate with the adaptations. Now, all those were props and just similarities in behaviors. How about actual people? Yep, the voice actor for Marlene is the same actor who plays Marlene in the series as well. This makes her the only person to play the same character in the game and the adaptation. Living the best of both worlds, I'd say. The second episode had its fair share of Easter eggs as well, like the giraffe plush under a car's tire. If you ask anyone who's played The Last of Us what their favorite moment from the game is, they'll all have the same answer. That giraffe scene. For context, Joel and Ellie visit an abandoned town in the second half of the game. All the buildings are ruins, and there's wild growth everywhere. Just imagine the typical apocalyptic city that's always shown in films. As the two roam around the building, Ellie overlooks different herds of animals, and one of them gets particularly close. She starts running from one window to the next until she reaches a wall that is entirely broken. The long neck of the giraffe peeks in, and that, combined with the rays of the afternoon sun breaking through, was nothing short of a cinematic masterpiece. So anyway, that is one of the Easter eggs that we might see. This plush is in the scene where Joel and Ellie and Tess escape Boston. I know for a fact that they will include this in the series because it's probably the most anticipated scene. And just imagine, the earlier description was from a game released a decade ago, and this show is live action with one of the best cinematographers on board. I think it's safe to say we're not ready for this, but that doesn't matter one bit. Nothing can top that, but there are still plenty more references in this episode, such as the fact that Ellie can't swim. It might come off as something random, but it was a massive part of the game. Ellie couldn't swim in that version either, and thus we couldn't take the shortcuts by swimming across. Instead, we had to take a much longer route that involved different obstacles, etc. Just your basic video game lore. Speaking of typical game lore, there are other ways video game developers force the players to take different routes. One of them is locked doors. Those who've played the game probably get PTSD after hearing those words. It's a pretty annoying thing when you're looking for a way out and think you finally found it. It just ends up being another locked door. The show is so much like the game that they even featured this annoying game routine and probably gave players terrible flashbacks who laughed away at the scene. But hey, props to HBO for this level of attention to detail. Oh, and the Easter eggs aren't just limited to The Last of Us. The next Easter egg is from another Sony exclusive game that is probably at the same level of popularity as The Last of Us. It's Sam Drake's lighter from Uncharted. Did the lighter that Tess have too seem familiar? Yep, that's the one. This iconic lighter featured in the 4th Uncharted game and was also an Easter egg in the Uncharted movie. I know what you guys are wondering. Does this mean that both exist in the same universe? Will we see a crossover? How did she end up with this? Stop. This doesn't mean anything. It's just a prop that's referencing another iconic game. That's it. Stop complicating things for yourself. Though we gotta agree, they're killing it with this show. So how did they make all the key changes? Like, it was a bold move making a show on this game. Yeah, I agree it was popular, but it was also a decade old. Loyal fans would have crushed HBO if they had messed this up, and others wouldn't care because it's a pretty old game. So yeah, credit where it's due. This version is definitely more grounded, meaning it seems more reasonable, and at the same time, it's precisely what the fans want. The secret behind this is keeping faithful to the source material. If you start messing with things that made the game a hit, trying to reinvent, then you're going to get butchered by the fans. And this is exactly what they didn't do. Instead, some scenes are so similar with the camera angles and dialogue that they seem like a super high-res part of the game, such as the car scene mentioned earlier in this video. Hopefully, other adaptations will follow this example so that we don't get watered-down versions of games that leave out all the great parts. That's all for me on all the Easter eggs in the Last of Us series. I hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.